So this has been coming up a lot lately, the last few weeks. I guess now that the start of the year has kind of settled down and people that I work with are back to work and back to regular schedules and are traveling a lot. And I just had some family stuff that I had to deal with, so I ended up traveling a lot, which is very unusual for me. And a lot of people want to know, how can I not lose my progress when I'm traveling or when I'm on the road? And one thing I would point out pretty quickly is that you aren't as likely to make further progress when you're traveling. So you can certainly, and it depends on how much free time you have and how much you have going on, while you're traveling. If you're gonna fly somewhere, drive, go to a meeting, go to bed, get up, drive, fly, you may not have time to do a whole lot genuinely. And a lot of people say they don't have time to exercise, but sometimes in these travel scenarios, like that's legitimate. I've seen it a lot, and I would just lower your expectations to not necessarily make progress while you're gone, but think more about maintaining while you're gone. So don't put that big burden on yourself to keep, drilling away and making progress. You absolutely can, but it does require a lot more work, and it totally depends on the scenario and how much free time you have. All right, so I just wanted to get that out of the way and make sure you understand that. So no big whiteboard lesson today. I've got some stuff back there, mostly to help me remember what to talk about, but a couple key points to go on. So you've got your exercise component when you're traveling and your food component when you're traveling. And I think that the food component's probably the most important because, to be honest, if you miss 2, 3, 4 days of exercise, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes there's even a scenario where that can be good for you and your body can use that time to recover. So we'll put that off to the later end because when you're traveling, the food is going to be the most critical part of this. And that's where you're going to make the biggest mistakes, right? So the thing that I always talk about, and hopefully I do a good job of every single video that I record, that meat, nuts, fruits, veggies. I mean, those are the cornerstone of how I believe everyone should be eating, right? Stuff from an animal or stuff from the earth, and that's it. So if you put that as your highest priority and that's the thing you think about the most when you're traveling, then that's going to solve a lot of problems for you. Very, very hard to overeat calorically on those things. So if you're in a car and I hear this a lot. People stop for fast food because they don't want to stop moving. They don't want to lose a lot of progress. They want to keep traveling. They want to get through the road trip, right? Because driving can be pretty tedious. I strongly suggest, please, you're better off going to a gas station, getting a bag of nuts, getting some beef jerky or whatever kind of jerky, if they have turkey jerky or whatever. And usually most gas stations have fruit, an apple or a banana. Is it going to be the best quality thing that you can find? No, but it's going to get the job done. And it's all stuff that's really easy to eat in your car. So you don't have to worry about stopping. You don't have to worry about a ton of trash. You don't have to deal with all that. Much better option than fast food. And your body will appreciate it very much. So food wise, first step, please stay away from fast food. I know, sometimes you're just so hungry or you're on the road for so long or it's just so appealing or some of it's psychological conditioning. When we were kids, myself included, we drive to Florida all the time. We would stop at fast food because that's how you'd feed everybody. And if you're traveling with your family, that's a little more complicated of a conversation. So I'm not going to go on that subject now. I'm just talking about you and your goals and what you're trying to accomplish as an individual. So for you, if I could, behest you to please, instead of fast food, go for meats, nuts, fruits, veggies. Okay. You're probably wherever you're going, you're going to have a bigger meal where you can have something a little heftier if you want more satisfaction out of that meal. But I would really try to prioritize the meat, nut, fruit, veggies. And I can almost guarantee every gas station you stop in is going to have some combination of those things. Okay. Veggies, maybe not, but everything else you should be able to get at the gas station. All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is if you can fast while you're traveling. And this is something that I personally do or try to do. Sometimes scenario changes that. If I'm flying out in the morning and I know I'm going to be on a plane for a couple hours or I'm going to be driving for a couple hours. I just don't want to have to go to the bathroom a ton. So I prefer not to have a lot of input that's going to, make my digestion go, make me have to go to the bathroom. You will need water, obviously, so you still have to pee, but I don't want to spend 15 minutes on the road having to go to the bathroom or going to a gas station or trying to find a place that's not the most enjoyable place I want to spend my time in the bathroom, if you know what I'm saying. So I personally like to fast a lot when I'm traveling. Now that can vary depending on when you have a meeting or where you have to be. But especially if you're leaving in the morning, I would say, just wait until you can get to an actual good quality meal if you're capable of doing that. If you get hangry, which is a very real thing, you may have to modify that a little bit. For example, say you're traveling in the morning, you're going to get somewhere around 10 o'clock. you have a meeting from 11 to 2 and you're not going to be able to have a lunch until after that, well, you don't want to be in front of, these people that you're meeting and being a little cranky or being a little more irritable or having a shorter temper, right? So if that's the case, then you probably do need to eat something and you'll need to make modifications there. But otherwise, I would suggest trying to fast if you can. Extend that as long as you can in the most reasonable way you can, and you just have to make sure to eat a lot of protein in the meals when you are able to eat later on. Right? And then if you look on the board behind me, go this way, the OMAD thing, right? It's right here. So that's 1 meal a day. So that's also an option. It is not the most ideal thing when it comes to protein consumption. However, I'm going to go on the assumption you're going to be a little less active. Your protein requirements are going to be a little bit lower when you're on the road. And it's just going to make, again, we're talking about maintenance here. We're not necessarily talking about trying to make huge progress. So 1 meal a day isn't going to be the end of the world and could, in fact, help you keep some weight off, stay a little lighter, a little leaner, and help your digestive system and all that stuff when you're on the road. So in that scenario, you would just fast, all the way until, almost always there's a dinner or going out component to when you're traveling. Dinners tends to be the safest one that you're going to have the best quality options or the biggest options for your choices as far as what you can eat. So if you can just fast all day and do the 1 meal a day and just try to eat a hefty serving of protein in that meal, that's another good strategy. And then try to track your food early. So I'll get a little more specific here in what I mean by that. Let's say you're traveling all day. So you get up at 5 a.m., you hit the airline at 7 a.m., you're flying out till 11 a.m., you get in your car, you're driving till 2 p.m., you're in a meeting from 3 to 6, and then you got a dinner, right? You're going to dinner. Now, you might need to eat in some spurts in between there, just depending on how your day is going and how your body can deal with fasting, right? So if you know you're going out, you're going to be with a group of people, there might be alcohol involved, there might be appetizers involved, right? I'm a little more selfish where I will choose what I want to eat, and I don't really care what people think about what I'm eating or what I'm drinking or what I'm doing. I come across a lot of clients that feel like that's going to hurt the relationship with the people they're going out with, and that might be true. That's not a world that I live in, so I can't really speak to that anecdotally. So if you feel like you have to, we'll say, put on airs, for lack of a better phrase, when you're around these people that you're entertaining and that you have to follow up with, then we need to plan for that calorically. So even if you don't track your food on a regular basis, maybe you do here and there, maybe you've done it in the past, you might want to get something like MyFitnessPal or Trainerize like we use at Grit and log the meal you're anticipating having for dinner as soon as you get up or, while you're on the plane, because what else are you going to do? You got time to kill. So what I mean by that is if you were to go in the app and you want to look at your food, and let's say you're going to go to a steakhouse, and the people you're going with really like to have wine with dinner. And most steakhouses, you're going to have bread, you're going to have some kind of appetizer, a soup, a salad. Hopefully you can make a better option there, and you're not eating, tater tots or something like that as an appetizer. So then after that, you're going to have your main course, and like I said before, ideally you want that to be some sort of high quality protein and high amount of protein, so 8 ounces or more, I'd say, unless you're just not a big meat eater, then that might be tough. But you're not going to get a lot of protein throughout the day, so you want to make sure to get a big chunk of protein in that meal. And you may or may not have dessert, and you may know you're going to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine with that. So go ahead and go in MyFitnessPal, log everything I just said, or whatever you think that you're likely to have, and put it in there ahead of time, and then you can budget the rest of your day around what you're going to eat for that meal. So let's say you end up with 1,800 calories for that meal, right? And you're looking at your app and you can see, I'm going to hit my carbs, I'm going to hit my total calories because the alcohol adjusts some of those calories, and I'm going to get plenty of fat. I'm not going to get a lot of protein. If I'm already going to go over my calories a little bit, like maybe you're only supposed to get 1,800 that day and you're going to get it all in that dinner, then throughout the rest of the day, you just need to eat protein as lean as possible. It might come with a little fat, especially if you have to rely on jerky and those kind of things throughout the day. So that the rest of the day, you just need to get protein or not eat, or just eat things that are really, really, really low in calories because you're going to have this big calorie dump at dinner. And this doesn't just apply to travel. This is a recommendation I give to many people I come across, anybody I've worked with over the years, that plan your dinner budget at breakfast or like at the start of your day. That way you know what you're working with and you can adjust accordingly throughout the day. So, especially the meals that are more or less mandatory when you're on these travel assignments. And I say mandatory in the sense that that's where people catch up, that's where the connections are made, that's where you're networking, right? I know that's kind of how that world exists a lot of times for a lot of people that travel for work. So plan that ahead of time and try to, backlog your day and plan the rest of your day budget wise accordingly. All right. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Either try to fast as long as you can. If you know you're going to get hangry, then try to go meat, nuts, fruits, veggies. Those are your options for what to eat throughout the day as you're traveling. If you're on the road, please go to a gas station and get something that's natural, that comes from the earth, that comes from an animal. Try to stay within the packaged foods. Try to stay away from the fast food. Fast casual, if that's an option, you've got time to kill, then you can get some pretty good options there, like Subway or Chipotle or something like that. But a lot of times, depending on where you're traveling, those aren't as accessible. So gas station, love them or hate them, they're probably going to have what you need, at least to suffice for the course of your travel. If you can do one meal a day, if you're maybe already used to fasting, or if you're going to be so busy that eating would be kind of an annoyance anyway, then just fast all day and eat dinner. That's my preference. I'll just have a big chunk, bolus they call it, of protein to make sure that I hit that in my dinner meal. And then if you know you have to go out and you have to entertain, you have to deal with other clients that you're working with, plug all the stuff that you're likely to eat in first thing in the morning or while you're traveling earlier in the day. That way you know your budget to play with the rest of the day. And that'll probably make you more conscious of the decisions that you are making at dinner. So you aren't just going, willy-nilly or saying, I fasted all day, I'm starving, I'm going to eat everything in sight. And you end up eating, 3,000, 4,000 calories, which isn't going to help you. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit on the food side of travel. On the exercise side of travel, that can be a little more complicated because it's totally dictated by your schedule. Like I said at the beginning of the video, sometimes you legitimately will not have time to get extra exercise, right? And if that's the case, then it just is what it is. Don't feel bad about it. That's going to happen in life. There's times in my life where I've got a lot to do throughout the day, so I don't get to exercise, right? Even not traveling. So, don't hang up on that too much. If you don't have time, you don't have time. As long as you're honest with yourself and you're being truthful with, are there spots I could make a little time to do something? So I'll give you an example for me, just anecdotally the other day. So I just had to drive. It was about a 4.5-hour drive that I had to do with my family. And I knew we're likely going to have, I'll say a bad dinner. That's not the correct term, right? But we were going to a place that was sort of nostalgic for me and for my family. And it's a pizza place. And pizza is not something I eat very often. Pizza is very high calorie. It's very hard to fit into a good diet, right? It's just one slice can be a lot of calories. And I knew that was likely to happen. And we were hitting the road, not early in my world, but early, in the general world. We were trying to get on the road by about 7 a.m. So I was able to go to bed early the day before, and I got up around 3:30, and I got up and I did 2 hours of cardio work. I don't expect most people to do that. Not a lot of people have that kind of work capacity. But I knew for me, if I'm going to balance that math, right, it's a budget again. So if I want to have pizza at the end of the day and I'm going to be sitting on my butt all day, it's really hard to make that math work in a way that's going to keep me in maintenance, right? So I got up and I did 30 miles on the bike and 4 miles on the treadmill. And that took me about 2 hours. Now, again, I'm not expecting you to be able to do that, but it helped me burn a lot of calories right away at the start of the day, knowing I wasn't going to move much as the day progressed. So I tried to get ahead of it. And if you see over here on this side, preemptive strike, that's what I mean by that. It could be the day before, if you know you're traveling 3 or 4 days and you're not going to have time to work out during the course of those days, or you're going to be too exhausted, right? Because you're going to be working really, really hard. And the idea of adding that on top of everything you have to do is just too much, which is totally understandable. On the tail ends of that, before and after, try to stack up a little more exercise, make a little more time, so you can at least create a deficit on the front end. That way you'll have an easier time maintaining. So if you can the day before, and maybe you work out, 4 or 5 times a week, and that would be a day you don't normally work out, well, go ahead and add something on that day. Or, if you've got a little extra time the day before because you're traveling, maybe increase your activity by 30 minutes or increase your activity by an hour just to try to get ahead of the game a little bit. That way you'll balance out while you're traveling and you're not able to be as active. The other thing is, especially if you're in an airport and if you're responsible and you try to get there early enough to not miss your flight, you're probably going to have time to walk. Now, to be fair to you, you got 3 suitcases and a backpack. Okay, not realistic to walk. I don't know how many carry-ons you can bring, right? Um, in a more realistic scenario, you might have a backpack and 1 carry-on. I think that's a very, very reasonable thing to just walk with. So when you get up, you go to the airport, and if you've got 45 minutes before you board, hey man, get up and walk. You don't have to walk fast. You don't want to get sweaty necessarily. You're going to sit on a plane. You probably don't want to get gross, and if you got to travel right after that. So you do have to be careful about that, especially if you have to travel in sort of work attire. I know me, when I wear suits or when I wear long pants and stuff, I generate a lot of heat, so I get sweaty a lot easier. So that is a realistic concern to think about. I don't want you to be going to your meetings or meeting your bosses or meeting coworkers and stuff, and you're kind of sweaty and gross and smell a little bit, right? So handle that on your own with what makes sense for you, but try to walk, through the airport as best you can. If you've got a layover, try to walk as best you can. If you've got a little, tracker watch, if you can find a way through the course of your travel to hit 10,000 steps, then you are in like the 99th percentile, because most people, when they travel, tend to be physically very lazy. And I get traveling's, kind of wears you out a little bit. So lazy maybe is a strong word, but most people will get to the airline, they'll get to their gate, and they'll just sit, and they'll play on their phone, and they'll play games or whatever. If you know you're not going to be able to get a lot of activity throughout the rest of the day, you're going to be on the road, you're going to be in meetings, then that's your time to get moving, to get your metabolism started a little bit, and just walk. And walking is really easy to do. You can do it at every airport. I think if you've got a layover, then you're going to walk to your gate anyway. If you have a layover and there's a tram or a bus ride and you have the time to walk to it instead, I'd suggest you do that. If you don't want to play the time game, I understand. Get to your gate first and then walk around the gate that you're in. But just try to fit it in where it makes sense and where it seems reasonable. And then the other thing are body weight workouts. So if your place has a gym, then you don't have to worry about that. If you're not sure, and I get this question a lot from clients, like we have a little app that we use that people can see their workouts that we plug in. And I will put in some hotel workouts on. Most hotel rooms have light dumbbells and maybe a cable machine and some cardio. So I will build workouts. We agree, we build workouts based on minimal equipment, but assuming a place has those couple things. So if you're fortunate enough to have the time and you have a place to do those, then you can get some workouts in there. Those workouts are not going to be about challenging your body and trying to hit PRs and trying to do stuff that's super duper hard. Again, when you're on travel, think more about maintenance. We're not trying to make huge progress here. We're just trying to keep you steady, keep you in the game, and just maintain while you're gone. So those workouts are more to get a pump, burn a little calories, get the muscles stimulated a little bit, get your body moving well, and just get some exercise in and try to hit that 30-minute minimum threshold a day. So don't beat yourself up about trying to do something really hard, or if that workout feels a little too easy. That's kind of what we want. We just want your body to move. We want to get that stimulation in there. If you don't have access to that and you purely have a hotel room, you can do body weight exercises. I can guide programs on that. We do the same thing. We have body weight workouts that we'll build. At a basic level, I think most people are comfortable with like body weight squats, push-ups, kneeling if you need to kneel, and sit-ups. You don't have to make it complicated. You can just do 5 to 15 minutes of those things, rest when you need to. Again, we're not trying to necessarily make progress in this thing. We are just trying to get your body moving, burn some calories, get that metabolism elevated, get the muscles stimulated, create input so when you eat, your body is going to use those calories and nutrients a little bit better. So that's my best travel guide to staying fit. So to recap a little bit, meat, nuts, fruits, veggies. If you can fast within reason. Try to track the food that you're going to eat if you know you're going out early. Walk in the airport when possible. If you've got time during your travel, when you're in the hotel or in the morning before things start the next day or whatever, you can walk, right? If that's what you're most comfortable with. So you can walk outside depending on where you are and what the weather's like. If they have a treadmill and they have a little workout station, then go in there and do some stuff. If you don't know any exercises, you don't have any guide to follow, overhead press, bent over rows, squats, keep it simple. Just hit some big muscle groups. You don't have to do anything fancy. And just remind yourself, I'm just trying to maintain while I'm on the road. I'm not trying to make progress. I just don't want to lose progress, so I'm just trying to stay, steady Eddie while I'm on the road. you can get a preemptive strike. Preemptive wouldn't be, that'd be a post-emptive strike, I guess. So before you travel, if you can get a bunch of exercise in to kind of get you ready ahead of time, do that. And just try to balance your math, right? Your nutrient math or caloric math while you're on the road as best you can. So I hope that information was helpful. I am offering maybe sounds like too strong a word. I'm trying to record some consultations. I don't necessarily feel comfortable doing that in the gym with members that I see on a regular basis and new members because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But if you've made it to the end of this video, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. But I would like to record some consultations, some like health and wellness consultations where we just talk, kind of figure out your goals, help you guide you how to get there, give you some clues and context and cues and strategies for how to do that. So if you'd like to talk to me about some of that stuff and you think, you like the way my brain works, you think I can help you, then I'm offering to do that for free. I just want to get some stuff on recording and show people how to do those conversations and help my team kind of understand how to do those conversations. So I'm just putting that out in the world. If anybody would like to do that, then you can contact me, mike@gritlouisville.com. You can find me on social media. You can use the same thing, Mike Pfeiffer. Anyway, thanks for listening, watching. I hope you got some value out of it.